Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gora Chanda.
The topic that I had anticipated speaking about fits perfectly with the message of this song. And yesterday evening's class, Tanavan Manobir, the requirement to become accepted by Krishna, very quickly. The selfless sacrifice of the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by sacrificing everything, they received everything. In one sense, what they sacrificed was nothing of spiritual value, because they didn't simply give it up, but whatever it is that they had, they dedicated to Krishna's service. That's the meaning of sacrifice for a Vaishnava. There's a material conception of selfless service in this world. I'm sure you have heard, certainly as a sannyasi meeting public audiences, both sincere people and challenging, confrontational type of people, kind of like the measure, the barometer of how you rank in their, merit is how much selfless service you do for others. And their measure of selfless service is bodily welfare. I can't remember exactly when it was. Maybe it was sometime I was in Mayapur. Maybe it was one of our yatras or something. And at a time when there were a lot of other people there, and one man sat next to me. In Mayapur they have those long lines, and you sit and they put the prasadam in front of you on a little raised thing. And then the servers go up and down between the two rows. So a gentleman sat next to me, and he was giving me one of these. Okay, what's your program? He said, so what are the ways that you have of serving people? Here he's in Mayapur. And he paused and said, and don't tell me that you give teachings and you provide a place for people to stay, to come to your pilgrimage place. What do you do to serve people? So I can't remember exactly what I said, but something along the lines of saying, why do you want to rule out giving people teachings as a way of serving others? And he went on saying, while you're giving your teachings to others, there's so many people starving, and there's so many people needing medical treatment, so many people needing education. What are you doing to help those people? So I described Prabhupada's statement about made in Mayapur, seeing the poor people in the area coming outside where the discarded leaf plates were and eating whatever they could find off the leaf plates. And Prabhupada seeing that and practically in tears, saying this should not happen. And within 10 miles radius of Mayapur, and then it became every temple, there should be, no one should go hungry. So it was, this is very good. Tell me more. So I explained more, but it's, I tried to help the man understand something he didn't want to understand, which was It's not just feeding people, it's Krishna Prasadam, and we're teaching them before they take Prasadam, they chant the holy name. And it's not like, they sing a song so they can get their meal, sing for their supper. It's training in spiritual life. And that training in spiritual life can free the soul from ever being hungry again. That's a good meal, where you never get hungry again. Like Narada's description of his conversation with Shiva and Parvati, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will come and give the holy name and give Mahaprasadam. So the material conception, I'm going to contrast the material conception of selfless service and the spiritual conception of selfless service, or self-sacrifice. One of the distinctions is that which is receiving the service, the object of service. So the material conception is the body. So food, clothing, shelter, medical, or the mind, education. And what's the purpose of education? Everybody knows, so you can get food, clothing, and shelter. You can earn some money with some education, and with that education you can buy things that are of benefit for the temporary body. So it's not, anyway, that's the limit. It's not to say those things shouldn't be done. The limit is, the target is the body, or the mind, or combination. And then another is, whose happiness is being sought through selfless sacrifice. Just like devotees are driven by the desire to serve their spiritual master and serve Krishna, the social welfare workers are driven by the sense of happiness they derive from social welfare work. They're concerned about the bodily welfare of others, but there's a happiness. It's like the happiness of an alcoholic. He's driven to get his alcohol, or the drug-addicted person to get his drug fix, or the money person to get more money. There's a happiness that's derived, I've seen it, by people that are of Vaishya nature. They can't help themselves. They have to bargain. They have to, get something at a lesser price then that's their happiness. It doesn't matter, what it is, just as long as they're making a profit. And that's their happiness. And they're driven by that. I was taking a flight from Chicago to New York once, and it sometimes happens on both ends. New York, the weather is bad, or Chicago, the weather is bad. Particularly the Guardia is really terrible for flying into, and there's a little problem that so they got us on the plane. They said, we're going to get everybody on the plane. We're going to have to wait on the runway so that we can get our spot in line. And we're in the plane for an hour, just sitting on the runway. And I had a window seat. And the person next to me was a Jewish man, and next to him was his wife. And so everybody has to shut down their cell phones, and they said, okay, we're going to be on the runway for a while, you can use your cell phones. Immediately. Before that, he was fiddling around with the phone on the chair in front of him, because he wanted to check what's going on with the stock market. He couldn't spare a moment to check what's going on with the stock market. So now he got his cell phone on, and he's talking to whoever he's talking to on the other end, and what's the price of this, and what's it, sell some of those and buy some of those, and then, as soon as we got off, his cell phone was on and said, how did it work out? Okay, great. We sold the right thing and bought the right thing at the right time. Hip, hip, hooray. And he was, and his wife was, going along for the ride. She's like, this is my husband. I like money too, and he's good at making money, and so it's total absorption. Who knows what that man dreams of at night? Not a moment to lose. So for selfless work, there's a happiness. There's a happiness that surpasses the drug addict's happiness, that surpasses the passionate worker's happiness. The taxi cab driver, he was getting restless. He wants to drive. so he was like, opening the door and checking things. Finally decided to get in the car and turn around and face that way so that when it was time to leave, he's got to have some service. Everyone's driven by a desire for some type of happiness. So with selfless service, whose happiness? There's an object. The object is the body. The happiness is over here. Or at best it's a mix. Knowing that you're doing, we all have this experience. We know what that happiness is. When we do something, we go out of our way to do something for someone else, and their situation becomes better somehow, at least temporarily. We feel something. We feel some contentment, some happiness. And there are some persons, that's like the wave that they ride their whole life. They get out their surfboard and ride the wave of selfless service. And when they get tired, they go home and think about all the good work they did for other people and wait for the next day when the surf's up and they get out their surfboard again and they're doing selfless service. The happiness is for themselves, or mixed at best. And the bondage of the bond of appreciation from the person who is being served, it remains on the platform of the body. And for some people it's like, who cares? That's happiness. Or that's life. That's happiness. But from a transcendental perspective, that completely blocks the real happiness of life, the happiness of the soul. And the nature of that happiness, not only whose happiness, but it's the modes of nature. And just as we heard Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describing to Vishnu Priya, it's all illusory. There's something, like when you look at a shadow and you see a shadow, you can't say it's nothing, but it's just a shadow. There's no substance. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the very first purport of the first verse, because the verse is speaking Satyam Param Dhimahi. So in contemplating the Supreme Truth, we need to contrast the Supreme Truth with the illusion or the shadow of the Supreme Truth. And with the shadow, there's no substance. A materialist sees it just the other way around. Just the other way around. Like, here's a chair. Substance. This is substantial. Now you tell me you make chairs and I'll go, good, you're doing something substantial. You say you're feeding people, that's good, you're doing something substantial, but you're giving people teachings and you have deities that they come and, ring a bell and wave some incense and sing some songs. Where's the substance? What do you do substantially? From a spiritual perspective, this is insubstantial. I mean, today I can sit on it and tomorrow it's ashes, or some number of tomorrows it's back to earth. Here today and gone tomorrow. It's not substantial. Substantial means that which is eternal. And what is there in this world that's substantial? It sounds like a philosophical talk, but it's like No, the way that we lead our lives. What's substantial in this world? Lord Chaitanya was teaching Vishnu Priya, what's substantial is our relationship with God. That's substantial, that's eternal. When everything else is gone, that remains. The soul is being animated by that which is substantial. Excuse me, the body is being animated by that which is substantial, the soul. And remove the soul, that which is substantial, and what do you have? It's elements. They disintegrate. They rot. Maggots come and eat the body up and pass stool, and it goes back to earth. It's gone. Kaput. Not substantial. But the thing that's substantial gives that which is insubstantial the appearance of substance. And that individual soul has a relation with the Supreme Soul. So the spiritual conception of self-sacrifice is Lord Chaitanya's teaching, or the Bhagavatam's teaching. And that is, all those things that we have, we place at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. Not just offer them to Him, but acknowledge they belong to Him. And in the lives of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's exalted associates, we find many examples of persons that they got it, they understood it, and they made that gesture with their life. And although they sacrificed everything, they received everything. So many examples. To what does it mean to receive everything? To receive everything is you receive Krishna, and He's everything. You receive your loving relation with Krishna once again. You restore that loving relation. When we were in Puri, we visited Gambhira, the place where Lord Chaitanya stayed for 22 years of his life, or made that his residence, and experienced and exhibited the highest, never seen before, never seen since, stages of love of God. The symptoms that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was exhibiting, right there in the house of Kashi Mishra. So the plan of Lord Chaitanya taking that as his residence, it was an inner room within the big residence of Kashi Mishra. The residence, Kashi Mishra was the guru of the king. That's how important Kashi Mishra was. And because Prataparudra Maharaj, he had his headquarters, his main palace in Cuttack. He ruled from Cuttack. But Puri was a very important part of his kingdom, so he had a little palace over in Puri too. And those of us that went there, that big area, I mean, I was taken for a little tour in the back and back and back and all around in the back, and there's like, it's gigantic. And that was the house of Kashi Mishra. And that was his guru's house, and then there was the king's palace. So when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya inquired, the king inquired from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is this sannyasi? I've been hearing about a very young, 25-year-old, think of someone you know that's 25-year-old, sannyasi. And who is this person? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's not just a sannyasi. Immediately, King Prataparudra said, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I have such respect for you that I immediately accept. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That was pretty quick. He didn't have to hear a lot of Bhagavad Gita classes. get a lot of prasadam, and, you know. He right away accepted. And he said, can you arrange an audience with him when he comes back to Puri? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, I will do everything in my power to do so, but I have one request. Find a residence for Lord Chaitanya when he comes back. So right away, the king, he's the king. So his mind went to, in the house of Kashi Mishra, it will be very nice because it's close to the temple, Jagannath temple, but it's also very quiet. And there's a small room in the back. We'll give that to Lord Chaitanya. And when that request was made of Kashi Mishra, it was, Jai, Haribol, immediately. And when Lord Chaitanya came, he placed his head at Lord Chaitanya's feet and said, whatever it is that I have, my family, my home, my riches, they're yours. Lord Chaitanya was very happy, and he showed his forearm form of Lord Vishnu. Very quick. Process is very quick if one fully surrenders. And it's very arduous if one has one foot in one boat, another foot in another boat, and is trying to cross the river. Very difficult. Jagatananda Pandit in his Prema Vivarta recommends, don't make that foolish mistake. Trying to cross the river with one foot in two different boats. Firmly place both feet in one boat, the boat of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Then you can very quickly cross to the other side. And with that submission to Lord Chaitanya, Kashi Mishra got his association every day. Before he was being worshipped by the king. Now he's worshipping Lord Chaitanya. And which position is happier? No question. He received everything by giving everything. And Vasudeva Datta, many of you or most of you know the life of Vasudeva Datta. One lesser, because he wanted to sacrifice everything. Prabhupada often spoke about Christ gave his life for those that believed in him. Vasudeva Datta not only delivered all people who believed in him, he wanted to liberate all living entities and all species of life. That was his standard of sacrifice. He made this petition to Lord Chaitanya. You've come into this world to deliver all the fallen souls. Kindly, even the most sinful, even the plants and the fish and the birds and all the species of life, kindly deliver them to the spiritual world. And if you feel that the burden of sinful reaction is too much for some of them, transfer that sinful reaction to me, I'll accept. I'll reside in hell for millions of lifetimes simply to see the liberation of the living entities. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him, saying, Vasudeva Dutt, you have stolen my heart. In many places he says, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami writes, Lord Chaitanya would say again and again, I am Vasudeva Dutt's property. I belong to him. He can take me in the marketplace and sell me for whatever price he likes. Please believe my words. I am the property of Vasudeva Dutt. Then he'd say it again. I belong to him. He can take me to the marketplace and sell me for whatever price he likes. I'm his. And he would say it again. He had such love for Vasudeva Dutt because He gave everything. He received everything. The fullest possible mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He was such a liberal personality, it's described, that whatever wealth he had, he gave away in charity, so much so he didn't even have enough to take care of his household. So Lord Chaitanya told him, this isn't good. You have to take care of your household. That's part of your charity. So he then instructed Shivananda, saying, you take charge of his finances so that he can take care of his family properly. Because he couldn't help himself. He just, whatever he had, he gave away. And Shivananda saying, householder, great devotee of the Lord, very responsible person. When we went to Mayapur last time, we visited Shivananda Sain's residence. He was a servant of the servants of Lord Chaitanya. He saw himself in that way. He lived that way. Amongst the Vaishnavas, he was a leader. So he served as a leader. When all the devotees came from Navadvip, just like we're having Nanda Gopal take that nice service of serving all of you. He's a brahmachari. What is he doing, serving so many grahastas who come from different places to take care of your meals and your sleeping and your health and, you know, your buses, and take all the headaches? Why is he doing that? Just serving the Vaishnavas, because that's the position of a brahmachari. The brahmachari is the servant of everyone. So he's an example. He's not here, so I can speak like this. He's servant of everyone. That's how he sees himself. He's very happy doing that. Not that only brahmacharis can do that. Shivananda Sain was a grahasta. And from his own pocket, he took care of they didn't have trains and buses and cars. It was travel by foot all the way from Navadvip, and the meals, the river crossings, the taxes, dealing with the dacoits, dealing with accommodations, dealing with meals, different place every night. And he did that service every year, just serving a larger number than we have. 200 to 300 devotees came every year from Bengal to Puri. One time, it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was still busy dealing with some prior situation. He sent the party, go ahead, I'll take care of this, whatever it was, the taxes and crossing, because moving from one place, from one kingdom to another kingdom, had to pay taxes. So he was dealing with that, and the devotees came to the town where they were supposed to stay, and Lord Nityananda threw a tantrum, a transcendental tantrum. I am so hungry. This Shivananda Sain, what kind of service? He's just causing me trouble. I curse him that his children should die. The wife of Shivananda Sain heard. Lord Nityananda has cursed my children to die. My husband just trying to serve all the Vaishnavas. And when Shivananda Sain came, she cried like that to him, and he chastised her. Why are you crying like this? We should be punished far more severely. We've inconvenienced Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Much worse should happen to us than that. And then he came before Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and was trying to pay his obeisances, beg forgiveness. Before he could even pay his obeisances, Lord Nityananda came and kicked him in the chest. he was in ecstasy. Oh, God, you've given your mercy. You've touched my body with your lotus feet. What good fortune I've just received today. When Lord Chaitanya heard this news of Shivananda Sen's great faith in Lord Nityananda, not just faith in him, but faith in Lord Nityananda, equally between the two, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy. He gave his full mercy to Shivananda Sen. He saw that Shivananda Sen's wife was pregnant. So he said, if the child will be a boy, didn't do one of those whatever they do things with machines. Your child will be a boy, and I want you to name him after Paramananda Puri. Give him that name before he was even born. So later he became known for short as Puri. And some years later, the child came when the mother was able to bring the child to visit Puri again. And the child came forward. Lord Chaitanya said, bring him here. And they brought him before Lord Chaitanya, and he put his foot out and had the child suck on his toe. And that child became a great Vaishnava, a Vaishnava of super excellent caliber. By sacrificing everything, Shivananda received everything. King Prataparudra, he was ready to sacrifice his whole kingdom, his position, his status in life, his life, so that he could get the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu audience even once. And because of that willingness to serve the devotees, serve Ramananda Roy, serve Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, serve all the Vaishnavas who came to visit Puri, serving very humbly, serving Gopinath Patanayak and Bhavananda Roy. He's the king. But because he saw these personalities as dear to Lord Chaitanya, he was ready to sacrifice everything for them. That's selfless service. And because he had that disposition, these are examples of the teaching that Lord Chaitanya gave to Vishnupriya. It's not abstract. There's a way to live this way. And one who strives to live this way makes spiritual progress. And by the inspiring example of great Vaishnavas, one can develop that quality oneself just by hearing about them. Raghunath Das Goswami. The list goes on. Prabhupada used to love to speak about. He was from the richest family in all of India, and he was the only son. And he would say how many rupees his father earned every month, and some crore of rupees, and whatever that is today, times so many. That was the family's income, and he was to inherit the whole income. He didn't care for it at all. Because he cared for one thing. He cared for Lord Chaitanya's association. And he was trying this way, that way, to get free from the worldly circumstance, to get Lord Chaitanya's association. And it wasn't happening. By getting Lord Nityananda's mercy, it happened. Lord Nityananda was pleased so much by Raghunath Das' service in serving all the Vaishnavas. He asked all the Vaishnavas, give your blessings that very soon he will receive the mercy of Krishna. And Raghunath Das received Lord Chaitanya's association. And through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, through the mercy of Lord Nityananda, he received the association of Lord Chaitanya. And through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he achieved association with Krishna, residence in Vrindavan, not just by buying a ticket, by getting the Lord's mercy. He received everything by sacrificing everything. Sanatana and Rupa Goswami, for that matter, all of the 6 Goswamis, they left aside all the aristocracy from which they were born. Raghunath Das, his, Rupa and Sanatan, theirs, prime minister and chief minister, and their brother was the finance minister of half of India. Walked away. They had to sneak away at the risk of their life to get Lord Chaitanya's association. And instead left aside all their worldly situation and accepted one cloth, living under a tree. Anybody ready for that one? So we're not at that stage. The demand, the mountain is not that one. It's a principle. Because they're householders that also stayed in the household ashram, like Kashi Mishra, and King Prataparudra. He didn't make that kind of gesture, but everything was dedicated to the Lord's service, exclusively. Nothing else. Nothing else. Tadvag Vasarga Janata Agha Viplava. No, that's a different verse. No, it's a different verse. Tanavan Manobhir, the verse from Lord Brahma. The sacrifice that's needed is not giving things up. The sacrifice that's needed is the dedication of whatever it is that is our resource in service to the personality of Godhead. And if it suits our nature to be renounced in the brahmachari or sannyasa ashram, that's fine. And if it suits us to be in the grahastha ashram, and that suits us for making this step-by-step progress in life, that's fine. But the principle is the same in both cases, the dedication of all things in service to Krishna. Dedication of body, words, and mind in service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and extending that same opportunity to others. This was Lord Chaitanya's act. Although he had the most wonderful situation, he gave up that wonderful situation in Navadvip for the world. And he had a wonderful situation in Puri. He left the situation in Puri to give all of South India the holy name of the Lord and the message of Krishna Bhakti. So this Parama Karuna song amplifies the same point. Just this one thing, let go of sense gratification. The anticipation of being an enjoyer in this temporary realm. This external things may still remain, but to be the enjoyer of that is what we let go of. That's a challenge, to keep the objects of the senses but not contemplating enjoying the objects of the senses. The solution, imperfect solution, is remove the objects of the senses. But if we're still contemplating even the removed object of the senses, that's not complete. Complete is that utilizing whatever it is that we have in service to Krishna. Fortifying that by these transcendental teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the spiritual strength to do so from the chanting of the holy name. So I'll stop. See if we have a little discussion. Any comments or questions on this theme? If not, we'll break and have our translation groups. You have your places all fixed, right? Jagatananda? You have a question? Someone's cell phone was going off and I couldn't hear you. Could you do it again? Yes. That's Yukta Vairagya or Stane Stita. Stay in your position. But stay in your position may mean, in some person's cases, I've got the wrong situation. It doesn't suit my nature. Like Lochan Das Thakur. It suited his nature to remain renounced, and he did, without difficulty. In other words, spiritual life is dynamic. As spiritual life evolves, what suits one's spiritual well-being may become transformed over time and through association and spiritual elevation. Sure, those that are closely guiding one in spiritual life, one consults with them, gets confirmation. Should I continue? Should I adjust? Something. Yes?
Even among you describe Jesus Christ's selflessness and compare it possibly with the selflessness and brought out how followers of Lord Chaitanya have a very special quality of selflessness. I was wondering, within the teachings of the Vedas, the different Vaishnava Sampradayas, they all emphasize Vaishnava qualities quite a bit. But there is a uniqueness in the followers of Lord Chaitanya. What is that makes this special quality in the followers of Lord Chaitanya?
Attachment for Lord Chaitanya. Because through the attachment to Lord Chaitanya comes many things. Not only, for example, as you were discussing in your explanation of your experience here, specifically at Simachalam, emphasis on kirtan and emphasis on japa and emphasis on hearing from those in the line of Lord Chaitanya. Because hearing from those in the line of Lord Chaitanya, one can then understand things that learned persons who don't have that mercy of Lord Chaitanya can't understand. Through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, or the representatives of mercy, the representatives of Lord Chaitanya who give Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Namo Mahavalanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne. So, because he's freely giving love of God, which is unlike what others are doing. And the means is Kevala Anandakanda. And his specific teachings match his gift. As the others, their specific teachings match their gift. So it's the association of Lord Chaitanya in a nutshell. Yes?
I have a question from this morning's class.
Sure.
You were describing how the residents of Vrindavan had more attachment for Krishna than for their own children.
Can you hear? No. Okay. I was describing this morning that in Vrindavan, the mothers of the cowherd boys had more attachment for Krishna than for their own children.
Personally seeing, I see that
Having a son,
I'm more attached to my children than to Krishna. So where should I start transcending that?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Just stay in the kirtan. You like kirtan. You like japa. You like Vrindavan. You took good care of him when he was in Vrindavan, Govinda. You took good care of him when he was in Vrindavan. You were not there? Oh, you were traveling? Oh, someone took good care of him. Krishna took good care of him. That's Vrindavan. So, gradually, like that. Then it doesn't mean, diminished, even greater. The care and affection comes to a whole other platform of the soul. But on the platform of the soul, Krishna is at the center. Anything else? Okay. We'll go into our translation mode now. Oh, someone? I'm sorry.
For this lecture, you mentioned sacrificing everything to receive everything. So my understanding is I need to sacrifice my attachment for
you got it. Are you ready? Thinking about it. Okay. Okay. Yes. We'll have to have your daughter speak on your behalf. Kishori, you got some service here. Your father can't speak. Go ahead. Relay? Strength to overcome attachments. By sadhana. Yeah. And by accepting the strength that's beyond your own strength, that is the strength of those who are giving strength. Right? Like Krishna and Krishna's representatives. Then that's strength beyond your own strength, and that's where you get the strength. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Akrodha Paramananda Nityananda Rai Abhimana Shunya Nitai Nagare Vedai Akrodha Paramananda Akrodha Paramananda Nityananda Rai patita jive dware dware giya Hari nama maha mantra denu binaiya Adama patita jive Hari nama maha mantra denu binaiya Adama patita jive dware dware giya Hari nama maha mantra denu binaiya Adama patita jive dware dware giya Hari nama maha mantra denu binaiya Jare dekhe tare ko hai dante tena kori Amara kini alo Brajo gonahari Jare dekhe tare ko hai dante tena dori Amara kini alo Brajo gonahari Jare dekhe tare ko hai dante tena dori Amara kini alo Bhajo gonahari Jare dekhe tare ko hai dante tena dori Bhajo gonahari Ito boli Nityananda bhume gari jai Sonara parvata jeno dulate lodai Ito boli Nityananda bhume gari jai Sonara parvata jeno Ito boli Nityananda bhume gari jai Sonara parvata jeno dulate lodai Nityananda bhume gari jai Sonara parvata jeno dulate lodai Teno avatare jarati na janmilo Lochan bole se papilo hargelo No avatare jarati na janmilo Lochan bole se papilo No avatare